Ladies and gentlemen, a strong woman understands the true value of self-worth, and it is this understanding that shapes how she approaches love and relationships. Self-worth is the deep, unshakable belief in one's own value and dignity, independent of external validation or approval from others. For a strong woman, self-worth is the foundation on which she builds her life, and it directly influences why she never begs for love. When a woman possesses healthy self-worth, she recognizes that love should never be a transaction or a desperate plea for attention. Instead, love is a mutual exchange of respect, care, and genuine connection. She knows that begging for love diminishes her and sends a message that she is willing to settle for less than she deserves. This awareness empowers her to wait for a relationship where she is fully valued, rather than chasing someone who does not recognize her true worth. Self-worth also gives a strong woman the clarity to set and maintain firm boundaries. She understands that her time, energy, and emotions are precious and should not be squandered on people who fail to appreciate her. Instead of pleading for affection or validation, she prioritizes her own needs and refuses to compromise her values or integrity for the sake of being accepted. This level of self-respect naturally attracts relationships built on equality and mutual appreciation. A woman with strong self-worth embraces her imperfections and strengths alike, knowing that she is inherently deserving of love regardless of flaws or past mistakes. This self-acceptance frees her from the fear of rejection and the urge to seek constant reassurance. She does not tie her happiness or identity to someone else's approval, which allows her to approach relationships with confidence and authenticity. She loves herself first, which sets the tone for how others treat her. Moreover, self-worth equips a strong woman with resilience against emotional manipulation or toxic dynamics. She is less likely to tolerate disrespect, neglect, or emotional unavailability because she understands that these behaviors are incompatible with her value. Instead of begging for love in unhealthy situations, she chooses to walk away, knowing that preserving her self-worth is more important than clinging to a relationship that harms her spirit. This inner strength also fosters independence. A strong woman does not rely on others to fill a void or validate her existence. She finds fulfillment within herself, through her passions, achievements, friendships, and self-care. This independence is attractive because it signals that she is whole and complete on her own, making love a choice rather than a necessity. It takes courage to be emotionally self-sufficient, but it is a hallmark of someone who knows her worth and refuses to lower her standards. In relationships, a strong woman communicates openly and honestly about her needs and desires without fear or desperation. She understands that her worthiness is not contingent on how much she gives or how hard she tries to win someone over. Instead, she values reciprocity and genuine effort from both partners. This balanced approach fosters healthy, fulfilling connections where love is freely given and received, not coerced or begged for. In essence, self-worth is the key reason why a strong woman never begs for love. It is a powerful internal compass that guides her choices, empowers her to demand respect, and protects her from settling for less than she deserves. When a woman truly believes in her own value, she naturally attracts love that honors and celebrates her, making any form of begging unnecessary and unthinkable. Her strength lies not only in her independence, but in the deep knowing that her love is precious, and so is her dignity. Emotional independence is a cornerstone of why a strong woman never begs for love. It represents a powerful state of being where a woman recognizes that her emotional well-being and happiness do not depend solely on another person's approval or affection. Instead, she nurtures a deep connection with herself, understanding that true fulfillment comes from within. This sense of emotional autonomy liberates her from the need to plead or beg for love, because she values her inner peace and self-respect above all else. A woman with emotional independence has learned to manage her feelings without relying excessively on others for validation. She understands that while relationships are important, they are not the sole source of her emotional stability. This mindset frees her from the vulnerability of desperation or neediness, which often leads people to beg for love in unhealthy ways. Instead, she approaches relationships from a place of strength, knowing that her worth is not tied to how much someone loves her, but to how much she loves and respects herself. Emotional independence also means that a strong woman takes full responsibility for her feelings and actions. She doesn't blame others for her sadness, loneliness, or fear of rejection. Instead, she faces her emotions head-on and practices self-compassion and healing. This ownership over her emotional life allows her to remain centered, even when faced with relationship challenges or disappointments. Because she is emotionally self-sufficient, she refuses to bargain her dignity or beg for attention from someone who is unwilling to give genuine love in return. Moreover, emotional independence equips a strong woman with the ability to set healthy boundaries. She knows when to say no and when to walk away from situations that drain her energy or diminish her self-worth. This discernment protects her from becoming entangled in toxic relationships where begging for love might seem like the only option. Instead, she chooses to prioritize her emotional health, trusting that the right kind of love will come to her without the need for desperation or sacrifice. A key part of emotional independence is self-awareness. A strong woman understands her triggers, fears, and desires, and she works continuously to grow emotionally. This self-knowledge empowers her to distinguish between love that is nurturing and love that is conditional or manipulative. Because she is attuned to her true needs, she does not tolerate half-hearted affection or emotional neglect. She values authentic connection and is willing to wait for love that is respectful and wholehearted, rather than begging for crumbs. Emotional independence also fosters resilience. When rejection or heartbreak occurs, a strong woman does not collapse under the weight of pain or try to cling desperately to what is lost. Instead, she leans into her strength, processing her emotions constructively and learning from the experience. This resilience means she recovers faster, rebuilds her confidence, and remains open to new possibilities without losing sight of her self-worth. Furthermore, emotional independence allows a strong woman to enjoy solitude without feeling incomplete or lonely. She finds joy in her own company and embraces time alone as an opportunity for self-discovery and rejuvenation. This comfort with being alone removes the pressure to stay in unfulfilling relationships simply to avoid loneliness, which often drives people to beg for love. Her happiness is not dependent on another person's presence, but is rooted in a rich, internal emotional life. In essence, emotional independence is about empowerment. It means loving oneself fiercely and refusing to accept anything less than genuine, respectful love. A strong woman who is emotionally independent never begs for love because she knows that her value does not fluctuate based on someone else's feelings. She understands that love should be a choice freely given, not something she has to plead for. This independence is not about shutting others out, but about creating a foundation of self-love that attracts healthy, balanced relationships. Ultimately, emotional independence is the reason a strong woman stands tall and confident, even in the face of rejection or heartbreak. It's the inner strength that protects her from desperation and neediness, allowing her to wait for the kind of love that honors her worth. By cultivating emotional independence, she becomes unstoppable, embodying a love for herself that no external circumstance can diminish. Boundaries are fundamental to understanding why a strong woman never begs for love. They act as invisible lines that protect her emotional, mental, and physical well-being. A strong woman recognizes the importance of setting and maintaining clear boundaries in her relationships because she values herself enough to demand respect and care without compromising her dignity. Rather than pleading for affection or validation, she stands firm in what she will and will not accept, ensuring that any love she receives is genuine and nourishing. At its core, setting boundaries means knowing one's worth and refusing to settle for less than what one deserves. For a strong woman, begging for love is never an option because it implies a willingness to accept treatment that diminishes her value. Instead, she sets limits that create a safe space for herself, where love is offered freely and without conditions that undermine her self-respect. These boundaries serve as a protective shield against emotional manipulation, neglect, or disrespect. A strong woman understands that boundaries are not about controlling others, but about communicating her needs and limits clearly and confidently. She expresses what behaviors she will tolerate and which ones she will not, making it clear that love that requires begging is neither acceptable nor healthy. This clarity empowers her to walk away from relationships that are unbalanced or toxic, preserving her emotional integrity. By refusing to lower her standards or bargain for affection, she honors herself and attracts relationships based on mutual respect. Maintaining boundaries also means recognizing the difference between love and obligation. A strong woman knows that true love is a willing exchange of care and support, not a transaction where she has to plead or sacrifice her sense of self to keep someone interested. When she sets boundaries, she ensures that love is given freely, without pressure or caution. This helps prevent unhealthy dynamics where she might feel compelled to beg for attention or affection, which only leads to resentment and emotional exhaustion. Boundaries foster empowerment by giving a strong woman control over her own life and emotions. She is not at the mercy of others' approval or acceptance because she has created a framework where her well-being comes first. This self-protection allows her to love without losing herself, ensuring that her emotional energy is not drained by constant efforts to gain love through begging or people-pleasing. Instead, her relationships are balanced, respectful, and based on genuine connection. A strong woman's boundaries also promote self-awareness. She understands her emotional triggers and past wounds, and she uses this insight to create limits that safeguard her heart. When she recognizes signs of disrespect or neglect, she responds by reinforcing her boundaries rather than tolerating harmful behavior. This proactive approach prevents her from slipping into patterns of begging or clinging out of fear or insecurity. She knows that standing firm is an act of self-love and courage. Moreover, boundaries help a strong woman cultivate independence in love. She does not rely on others to validate her worth or fill an emotional void, because her boundaries remind her that her happiness and self-esteem come from within. This independence means she approaches relationships with confidence and authenticity, never resorting to begging for love to feel valued or accepted. Her love is an offering, not a demand, and she expects the same in return. Setting and respecting boundaries also improves communication and trust in relationships. When a strong woman is clear about her limits, it encourages honesty and transparency between partners. Both people know where they stand and what is needed to nurture the relationship. This openness reduces misunderstandings and prevents situations where one partner feels compelled to beg for love because of unspoken needs or unclear expectations. Finally, boundaries allow a strong woman to heal and grow. They create a foundation for healthy relationships where love is mutual and respectful. By refusing to beg for love, if she protects self-esteem and fosters an environment where authentic love can flourish, her boundaries are a declaration of self-respect, reminding her and those around her that she deserves nothing less than true, unconditional love. In summary, boundaries are the backbone of why a strong woman never begs for love. They safeguard her dignity, empower her independence, and ensure that her relationships are based on respect and genuine care. By setting firm limits, she honors her worth and invites love that uplifts rather than diminishes her. Her boundaries transform her approach to love from one of desperation to one of strength and grace, making her a beacon of self-respect and authenticity in every connection she forms. Confidence is the cornerstone of why a strong woman never begs for love. It is the deep, unwavering belief in her own worth and abilities that empowers her to hold head high, even when faced with rejection or emotional challenges. The confidence means she understands that her value is inherent and not dependent on the approval or affection of others. This self-assuredness allows her to approach relationships from a place of strength rather than desperation, ensuring she never lowers herself by begging for love or validation. A confident woman knows that love should never be a bargain or a plea. She recognizes that authentic love is freely given and mutually respectful, and she refuses to chase after someone who does not see or honor her worth. Her confidence acts as a protective shield against unhealthy attachments or emotional manipulation. Instead of seeking approval or affection from others to feel complete, she draws strength from within, trusting that the right people will appreciate her for who she truly is. This confidence is built on self-awareness and acceptance. A strong woman has taken the time to understand her strengths, her flaws, and her unique qualities. She embraces her individuality without shame or apology. This acceptance translates into an inner power that cannot be shaken by rejection or criticism. Because she values herself, she sets high standards for how she expects to be treated, and she won't settle for anything less than respect and genuine care. Confidence also fosters independence. When a woman is confident, she is less likely to rely on others for emotional support or validation. She is comfortable being alone and knows that her happiness and sense of self-worth do not hinge on another person's love. This independence means she won't beg for love simply to avoid loneliness or fear of abandonment. Instead, she waits for a relationship that uplifts and complements her life, rather than one that fills a void. Moreover, confidence enables clear and honest communication. A strong woman is not afraid to express her feelings, needs, and boundaries. She speaks her truth with clarity and firmness, which helps establish healthy dynamics in her relationships. When love is mutual, it flows effortlessly without the need for pleading or desperation. If her feelings are not reciprocated, her confidence allows her to walk away gracefully, knowing that her self-worth remains intact regardless of the outcome. Another key aspect of confidence is resilience. Life's emotional ups and downs can challenge anyone's sense of self. But a confident woman uses rejection or disappointment as opportunities to grow rather than reasons to diminish herself. She understands that not every relationship is meant to last, and that letting go is sometimes the best form of self-love. This resilience reinforces her ability to move forward with dignity and hope, rather than clinging to something that does not serve her. Confidence also shapes how others perceive her. When a woman carries herself with assurance, she naturally commands respect and admiration. People are drawn to her strength and authenticity, and she attracts relationships based on genuine connection rather than pity or obligation. This magnetic quality is a result of her inner confidence shining outward, making it clear that she values herself and expects to be valued in return. Importantly, confidence is not arrogance or superiority. It is a humble acknowledgement of one's worth combined with kindness and openness. A confident woman is secure enough to be vulnerable and authentic without fear of judgment. This balance makes her approachable and relatable, but never desperate or needy. She understands that true love is a partnership of equals, and begging for love disrupts that balance by placing her in a position of less power. In essence, confidence is the reason a strong woman never begs for love, because it empowers her to stand firm in her worth and expectations. It protects her from settling for less than she deserves and inspires her to seek relationships rooted in mutual respect, honesty, and genuine affection. Her confidence allows her to love freely and authentically, without fear or desperation, making her not only a strong woman, but also a beacon of self-respect and empowerment in all her relationships. Respect is a fundamental reason why a strong woman never begs for love. It is the foundation upon which she builds her sense of self-worth and how she expects to be treated by others. For a strong woman, respect is not something she negotiates or pleads for. It is a non-negotiable standard that she holds for herself and the people she allows into her life. She understands that love without respect is incomplete and often harmful, and she refuses to accept anything less than genuine honor and dignity in her relationships. At its core, respect means recognizing and valuing a person's intrinsic worth. A strong woman knows her value, not because of external validation, but because she has cultivated a deep appreciation for who she is. This self-respect sets the tone for how she interacts with the world and, importantly, how others should interact with her. When someone fails to respect her boundaries, feelings, or individuality, she recognizes that it is a clear signal that this relationship does not align with her values or well-being. Respect in a relationship manifests in many ways, through listening, understanding, supporting, and valuing each other's opinions and feelings. A strong woman demands these actions because she knows they are essential for healthy and loving connections. She is aware that begging for love often comes from a place of desperation, which can lead to tolerating disrespect or mistreatment. However, she refuses to sacrifice her dignity just to maintain a relationship. Instead, she chooses to walk away from situations where respect is lacking, the knowing that it is better to be alone to be disrespected. Furthermore, respect is closely linked to boundaries. A strong woman sets clear boundaries about what she will and will not accept in her relationships. These boundaries are an expression of her self-respect and act as a protective barrier against emotional harm. She is firm but fair in communicating these limits and expects them to be honored without question. When someone crosses her boundaries, she understands that it is a breach of respect and a sign that the relationship is unhealthy. Rather than begging for love in such circumstances, she chooses to maintain her standards and protect her emotional well-being. Respect also means valuing oneself enough to refuse to chase after people who do not appreciate her. A strong woman knows that begging for love can diminish her self-esteem and often leads to unequal and unbalanced relationships. She understands that true love is mutual. It involves both partners honoring and uplifting each other. When respect is present, love flourishes naturally without the need for pleading or bargaining. This knowledge gives her the courage to wait for love that respects her completely, rather than settling for less or trying to force affection from someone who is unwilling to give it. Another important aspect of respect is how a strong woman treats herself. She practices self-care, honors her feelings, and forgives herself for mistake, which strengthens her internal respect. This inner respect reflects outwardly and influences the way she allows others to treat her. She believes that self-respect attracts respect from others, creating a cycle of positive energy and healthy relationships. Because she values herself deeply, she never feels the need to beg for love. Instead, she trusts that the right love will come to her naturally when respect is mutual. Respect also requires honesty and authenticity. A strong woman is true to herself, and she expects the same honesty from her partner. She refuses to compromise her truth or hide her feelings just to gain approval or affection. When a relationship lacks honesty or involves manipulation, she recognizes it as a lack of respect. Rather than begging for love under these conditions, she chooses integrity and self-honesty, even if it means letting go. In conclusion, respect is a cornerstone of why a strong woman never begs for love. It defines her relationships, her boundaries, and her sense of self-worth. She understands that love without respect is hollow, and that demanding love through begging is a sign of imbalance and disrespect, both to herself and the other person. Her unwavering commitment to respect empowers her to maintain her dignity, set healthy boundaries, and seek relationships that are grounded in mutual honor and care. This respect not only protects her from emotional harm, but also elevates her ability to love freely and authentically, making her a strong and empowered woman who never needs to beg for love. Self-love is at the heart of why a strong woman never begs for love. It is the foundation that supports her sense of worth, dignity, and the standard she holds in her relationships. When a woman truly loves herself, she understands that her value is inherent and not dependent on the approval or affection of others. This deep self-appreciation empowers her to stand firm in her worth, refusing to lower her standards or plead for love from anyone who does not genuinely respect and cherish her. At its core, self-love means accepting oneself fully, including all strengths and flaws, and treating oneself with kindness and compassion. A strong woman with self-love doesn't seek external validation to feel complete. She knows that real love begins within. This inner love creates a powerful sense of confidence and security, which means she does not feel desperate or needy in relationships. Because she is whole on her own, she does not feel the urge to beg for affection or attention. Instead, she invites connections that reflect mutual respect and genuine care. Self-love also equips a strong woman with healthy boundaries. When she values herself, she knows what she deserves and what she will not tolerate. These boundaries act as a safeguard against emotional harm and dishonesty. She refuses to stay in relationships that are toxic, unbalanced, or one-sided. Rather than begging for love from someone who disrespects her or takes her for granted, she chooses to protect her emotional well-being by walking away. This decision is an act of self-love, showing that she values herself enough not to settle for less than she deserves. Moreover, self-love fosters resilience. A strong woman understands that rejection or setbacks in love do not diminish her worth. She sees these moments not as personal failures, but as redirections toward healthier and more fulfilling relationships. Her self-love helps her bounce back from disappointment with grace and strength, rather than desperation or pleading. She knows that the right kind of love will come to her in its own time, and until then, she will continue to nurture herself and grow. Self-love also influences how a strong woman communicates and connects with others. Because she respects and honors herself, she expects the same from her partner. She expresses her needs and feelings honestly and confidently, never feeling the need to manipulate or beg for attention. Her self-love encourages authenticity in her relationships, making her a magnet for people who appreciate her true self rather than a version she feels compelled to perform for approval. Another vital aspect of self-love is forgiveness, both of oneself and others. A strong woman understands that everyone makes mistakes, including herself. She does not hold on to guilt, shame, or past hurts that weigh her down. Instead, she practices forgiveness as a way to free herself emotionally and spiritually. This ability to forgive and release negative energy strengthens her self-love and allows her to approach new relationships with an open heart and healthy mindset. Self-love also means investing time and energy into personal growth and self-care. A strong woman prioritizes her mental, emotional, and physical well-being, and knowing that nurturing herself is essential to attracting and maintaining healthy love. She engages in activities that bring her joy, peace, and fulfillment, which enhances her sense of self-worth and vibrancy. This self-investment signals to others that she values herself deeply and expects to be valued in return. In essence, self-love is the reason a strong woman never begs for love. It is the unwavering belief in her own worth that empowers her to stand tall and demand respect. Self-love protects her from settling for unhealthy relationships and fuels her confidence to wait for the kind of love that aligns with her true self. When she loves herself fully, she creates a powerful energy that attracts love naturally, without neediness or desperation. Ultimately, self-love is not just a practice. It is a way of being that transforms how a strong woman experiences relationships. It allows her to love freely and fiercely, with the certainty that she deserves the best. This profound respect and care for herself ensure that she never has to beg for love, because she already possesses it within. Dignity is a cornerstone of why a strong woman never begs for love. It is a deep sense of self-respect and honor that shapes how she views herself and how she allows others to treat her. For a strong woman, dignity is not something to be given or taken away by external circumstances. It is an internal compass that guides her actions and decisions, especially in matters of the heart. When a woman holds on to her dignity, she refuses to lower herself by pleading or begging for love, understanding that true love cannot be forced or earned through desperation. At its essence, dignity means recognizing your intrinsic worth regardless of what others say or do. A strong woman knows that her value is not contingent on someone else's approval or affection. She embraces who she is fully, including her strengths and vulnerabilities, without shame or apology. This awareness of her worth protects her from losing herself in the pursuit of love that is not freely given. Instead of begging for someone's attention or affection, she maintains her dignity by standing firm in her self-respect and refusing to compromise her principles for the sake of temporary acceptance. Dignity also acts as a shield against emotional harm. When a strong woman encounters rejection or indifference, she does not respond by begging or clinging. Instead, she holds her head high, knowing that her dignity remains intact regardless of the outcome. She understands that begging for love often diminishes a person's sense of self and can lead to unhealthy, unbalanced relationships. By preserving her dignity, she ensures that her interactions with others are grounded in mutual respect and genuine connection, not in neediness or manipulation. Furthermore, dignity empowers a strong woman to set clear and firm boundaries. She knows what is acceptable and what is not in her relationships, and she is not afraid to walk away if those boundaries are crossed. This strength in boundaries comes from a deep respect for herself and an understanding that her emotional well-being is non-negotiable. Begging for love often involves sacrificing these boundaries, but a woman with dignity refuses to do so because she values herself too much. This creates space for healthier relationships where love is given freely and reciprocated authentically. Dignity also plays a crucial role in how a strong woman handles vulnerability. Being open and vulnerable in love does not mean she loses her dignity. Rather, she approaches her emotions with courage and self-respect. She shares her feelings honestly, but never in a way that undermines her value. This balance allows her to maintain authenticity while protecting her sense of self-worth. Begging for love, on the other hand, often stems from fear and insecurity, which can lead to overexposure or self-deprecation. A dignified woman navigates vulnerability with grace, ensuring that her openness enhances rather than diminishes her strength. In addition, dignity fosters emotional independence. A strong woman understands that her happiness and sense of fulfillment come from within, not from another person's love or validation. She does not rely on external sources to feel whole or worthy, which liberates her from the trap of begging or pleading for love. This independence is empowering because it shifts the focus from trying to gain love at any cost to cultivating a loving relationship based on equality and mutual respect. Dignity, therefore, nurtures a healthy sense of autonomy that strengthens her emotional resilience. Dignity also influences the way a strong woman perceives rejection. Instead of internalizing it as a personal failure or a reflection of her worth, she sees rejection as a natural part of life and relationships. She understands that not every connection is meant to last, and that's okay. Her dignity helps her accept rejection with grace, without resorting to desperation or self-pity. This perspective allows her to move forward with confidence, knowing that her value remains untarnished, and that the right kind of love will come when the time is right. Moreover, dignity encourages a strong woman to be patient and selective in love. She does not settle for less than she deserves or rush into relationships out of fear of loneliness. Instead, she waits for love that honors her dignity and matches her standards. This patience is a powerful form of self-care that protects her from emotional pain and disappointment. Begging for love often leads to rushing and settling, but a dignified woman chooses to trust the process and honor her worth above all. In summary, dignity is the reason a strong woman never begs for love. It is the unwavering respect she holds for herself that keeps her grounded, confident, and self-reliant. Her dignity prevents her from compromising her values or chasing after love that is not freely given. Instead, it empowers her to seek and attract relationships built on mutual respect, authenticity, and true connection. Through dignity, a strong woman embraces her worth and demands to be loved in a way that honors her spirit, never as someone who begs, but always as someone who deserves. Empowerment is at the heart of why a strong woman never begs for love. It is the inner strength and self-awareness that fuels her confidence and helps her maintain control over her emotions and choices. When a woman feels empowered, she recognizes her own worth and refuses to diminish herself in the name of gaining someone else's affection. Empowerment means owning her value, setting boundaries, and choosing relationships that honor her dignity rather than settling for less or begging for love that isn't freely given. A strong woman's empowerment begins with self-love. She understands that her happiness and sense of completeness come from within, not from external validation or approval. This foundation of self-love is what allows her to stand firm in her decisions and reject any relationship dynamic that feels unequal or demeaning. Empowerment frees her from the desperation and insecurity that often lead others to beg for love. Instead, she approaches love from a place of strength and abundance, knowing she is enough as she is. When a woman is empowered, she sets clear boundaries that protect her emotional and mental well-being. She knows what behaviors she will accept and what she will not tolerate. This clarity comes from a deep respect for herself and her needs. Begging for love typically involves ignoring these boundaries in an attempt to keep someone close. But a strong woman's empowerment prevents her from compromising her standards. By setting and maintaining boundaries, she creates healthy space for relationships to thrive on mutual respect rather than neediness or control. Empowerment also influences how a strong woman views rejection. In seeing it as a reflection of her inadequacy, she understands that rejection is a natural part of life and an opportunity for growth. She does not plead or beg for acceptance but embraces rejection with grace and resilience. This mindset allows her to move forward without losing her sense of self or falling into patterns of self-doubt. Empowerment gives her the strength to believe that the right love will come to her without force or manipulation. In addition, empowerment encourages a strong woman to be selective in love. She knows what she deserves and refuses to settle for less just to avoid loneliness or fear of being alone. This selectiveness is a powerful form of self-respect, showing that she values quality over quantity in her relationships. Rather than chasing after love or trying to convince someone to stay, she waits for connections that are genuine, reciprocal, and nourishing. Empowerment helps her trust that waiting for the right person is far better than begging for love that diminishes her spirit. Empowerment also manifests in the way a strong woman communicates. She speaks her truth confidently and clearly, expressing her needs and desires without fear of rejection or judgment. This honest communication creates a foundation of respect and authenticity in her relationships. Begging for love often involves silence, hiding true feelings, or people-pleasing, but empowerment encourages openness and courage. She knows that being true to herself is more important than trying to fit into someone else's expectations or desires. Furthermore, empowerment leads to emotional independence. A strong woman does not rely on others to fill her emotional gaps or validate her worth. She is capable of managing her feelings and finding fulfillment through her passions, friendships, and self-care practices. This independence is crucial. It prevents her from becoming emotionally dependent on a partner, which is often what drives begging behaviors. Empowerment nurtures a healthy, balanced approach to love where both partners contribute equally without one losing themselves. The being empowered also means embracing growth and learning. A strong woman is willing to reflect on past relationships and experiences to understand what she wants and what does not serve her. She uses setbacks and heartbreaks as lessons rather than reasons to lower her standards or beg for love. Empowerment transforms pain into wisdom, making her stronger and more confident in her journey toward healthy, fulfilling love. Ultimately, empowerment is about reclaiming control over one's life and emotions. It's about knowing that love should be a mutual exchange of respect, care, and support, not a desperate plea for attention or affection. A strong woman empowered by self-awareness and self-worth will never beg for love because she knows that real love cannot be forced or earned through desperation. It flows naturally and freely between two people who honor each other's value. In summary, empowerment is the driving force behind why a strong woman never begs for love. It roots her in self-love, strengthens her boundaries, fosters emotional independence, and cultivates resilience. Empowerment allows her to walk away from relationships that do not serve her highest good and to wait confidently for love that truly honors her. Through empowerment, she embraces her worth and commands to be loved with respect and authenticity, never from a place of begging, but always from a place of strength.